Hey, third graders. So happy to see you again. This is day 3 of the video sequence that we're working on to help you guys become experts at reading and writing. And so with Miss Durson, I have been working on coming up with ways to help you navigate this writing process when you're writing about something that you don't really know a lot about, but you're trying to get better at it. So this week, it's my understanding that Mrs. Jerson is starting to put together some ways for you to become better at the vocabulary. And she's giving you some tools to help you understand a word that you don't know by learning about what comes before the word and what comes after, by using the pictures, by using a glossary. And so we're going to do the same thing, but it's one thing to like know all these words, but it's another thing if you're going to say that you're an expert on something, you're going to want to like use that vocabulary. So I'll show you in a minute what I mean. I'm going to share my screen with you, so you'll be able to see everything that I'm seeing. Okay, so I have right now this book open to penguins. And before I even start with that, I want to remind you that last week we looked at a book called The Life Cycle of an Emperor Penguin. And then we also looked at a book called The Penguin, that funny bird. And so today I'm going to be reading a different book with just a little bit of it called Penguins. And you'll see it's got some really great features. It's got lots of really good pictures. It's got a table of contents, and it's got some, oh, here's a bunch of birds huddling together. And right away, I'm going to wonder why they're all huddling together. But as I'm starting to read this, I see right out of the gate, there is a bold word on this page. And that bold word might be something that I need to use to take note of vocabulary that I want to incorporate into my piece. So I'm going to read, what are penguins? Penguins may not look like other birds, but they are birds, as we already know. Like all birds, penguins are covered with feathers. They are warm-blooded, which means their body stays the same temperature no matter how warm or cold their surroundings are. All birds, including penguins, hatch from eggs. This is a very interesting couple of sentences here. So I want to use that warm-blooded in my piece. So what I did was I put together, sorry, I have to find it. This is what we were using. We were using this animal research project subtopics, and you could continue to use this for any new information that you find. You can keep printing these out, or you can write them on your own sheet of paper if you want to. But we were reading a book called The Penguin, a Funny Bird, and we were learning about where they live. And we learned that penguins live in a rookery. They live in Antarctica. They spend a lot of time in and out of the water, but when they're out of the water, they go on pack ice. Right here, pack ice and rookery are 2 vocabulary words that I could use. So I'm going to want to transfer those words onto this thing that I'm going to show you guys right now. So I made an animal vocabulary words page, and this is going to be designed to help you keep track of, you're almost going to have your own word wall, and your word wall is just for animal vocabulary about the animal that you're doing. Now I noticed, for example, some of the kids in my class sent me some of their work that they've been doing, and they love the word that is the word, I don't even remember the word now, but it was the word for bat poop. They were very excited about this. And every kid that did some research on the bat was very, and right now you're probably going, oh, I know what that word is. So I don't remember the word, but I get it. I mean, I think that that's hilarious too. So, but I'm not going to teach you about any kind of penguin poop right now, but it's going to be a little bit about some other words. But you want to take rookery and pack ice and put it on your animal vocabulary words page. So you'll see there's a place for your name, the title of the book, which for today we're gonna use penguins. I think it's called Penguins. Maybe it's called The Penguin, I forget now, but it's okay. We're gonna keep going, and we're gonna find out that this was actually on page, this was on page 5. So while I'm here, let me find out the name of this book again. Oh, it's called Penguins. So on my piece, I'm going to write penguins, page 5. The word is warm-blooded. Now this is kind of changing the setup of my document right now, but that's okay. Don't worry about that. And then I'm going to write my definition. And from what I remember about penguins being warm-blooded is that that means that their body temperature stays the same in all weather. And I'm just going to check and make sure that that's what it is. I'm going to go back to this page where I learn about penguins. And I'm going to go to what are penguins. Penguins may not look like other birds, but they are. They're like all their birds. They're covered with feathers. They are warm-blooded, which means their body stays the same temperature no matter how cold or warm their surroundings are. And remember, I am going to define this in my own words. So I'm not going to like copy exactly word for word what this author says and make it mine, because that's not a good thing to do. There's a word for that. It's called plagiarism. And we're not going to do that. So I'm going to read it. I'm going to put the book aside. And then I'm going to see, what do I remember about what it said? Write it down and then double check to make sure I didn't mess things up. So penguins are warm-blooded. It means that their body temperature stays the same in all types of weather. Okay. And then I'm going to go on and I'm going to look for some more really cool things about penguins that I'm going to add to my other page that I put together for you guys. That's going to help me keep track of all of the things that I learn. Right now, I have information about where they live. They live in a rookery and they spend a lot of time in and out of the water. But another subtopic that I might have is features. And I might write about the features of the penguin. And maybe I'm going to say that I got this from a book called Penguins. And one of the features is that they're warm-blooded. Another feature that I might say is that they have, something about feathers. And we're going to learn about that next. So let me go to another one right now. So I'm going to keep reading and I'm going to skip around a little bit. So, there's so many things that we can learn about. But as I skip around and I'm finding that there's lots of different types of penguins and maybe that's one of my subtopics, I stumbled upon this word and I thought it was really cool because I didn't think of this word in this way. When I was trying to figure out what that word meant, it didn't make sense to me and in my mind. So I was fascinated by this. A penguin's feathers are short and stiff. Once a year old, all feathers fall out as new ones grow in. This change is called molting. It takes several weeks for a penguin to molt. And I thought about molten lava and stuff like that. And that was like where I thought of that word. So this was a very new word to me. So molting or molt means that the feathers fall out and make room for new ones to grow in. So I'm going to go to my page and I have a new word and the book title is still the same. So I'm just going to write same. And that I didn't happen to check and see what page that was on. Page 11. So I'm going to say that this was on page 11 and I'm going to write the word molting or molt. And when the penguins are molting, it means that their feathers fall off to make room for new ones. That's it. So going back to recap, I want to just remind you that when you are writing, I'm going to get rid of the screen share right now, stop the share. Just want to remind you that when you're writing your piece, you want to become an expert and you want to be able to figure out how to navigate all of this language so that that language becomes yours. And when you do that, you're gonna discover that there's all these really interesting words that you want to use in your piece. And when you come across them, you're going to put them off to the side and start to develop your own little word wall for this particular animal that you're writing about. And then when you do that, you can start to incorporate all of those, like you're going to weave and sew that stuff back in to the piece when you start to write your piece all about snakes or bats or elephants or whatever it is that you've chosen to write about. Okay. I hope you're all having a beautiful day. Take care.